This is the OTP pregame presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on paying less for the coverage you need with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get a quote today at fbhp.com. With Amy Wells, I'm Mike Keith. So pleased to be joined by Titans Radio's Ramon Foster. Welcome to the OTP pregame.
Thank you.
We're very glad to have you back with us. And, of course, 5 topics. That's what this is going to be. We're going to hit 5 topics during the course of this program. So let's jump right in with topic number 1.
Well, Mike Keith, I'm taking over this week. We need a change in the juju a little bit.
I like it.
We need something a little different going. So you're out. I'm in.
But what
I have my 5 topics.
You didn't tell me you were going to. I have 5 topics right here on this sheet.
Don't care so much about those.
Mike
but
came ready.
I have my 5 topics right here. And I think that this is going to be just the ticket. This is what we need
for the turnaround.
This is the turnaround starts now.
I mean, I'll do anything.
Turning all the way around.
I'm looking for anything to get a win. So go ahead, take over.
Don't you feel like we need a little?
Just take over.
Change everything.
I should have known something. Seeing Amy today, I mean, Titans fans might not feel like sun's out, but sun's out in here, and your guns are out right now. Okay,
they are out.
Yes, they are. Let's go.
So, okay, 5 topics. I've got them. Ramon, I feel like a good place to start because the Tennessee Titans are getting ready to play the New England Patriots. This is the pregame show. We have to discuss your relationship with Jerod Mayo. You guys were roommates. You guys were teammates. And what I need to know from you is, was there a moment in your guys' friendship that you realized that at some level he could be a very successful coach?
Yes, easily. One, it started with his work ethic. Mm-hmm. I'll just start there. I think he was the first one to really play out of all of us as a freshman and whatnot. But his delivery into saying that he said it adamantly, I'm doing 3 years and I'm out. So to understand there was a plan for him. He even tore his ACL and still got it. But it started with Coach Chavis. John Chavis is a former defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Vols. Mayo was the green dot in college for a while. And for a young guy to have that on his table, to be able to make plays and also have the ability to command the defense as a young dude, you understood that intellectually, mentally, he could handle the workload. And he just continued to approach college, honestly, like a business, to where it wasn't just playing and starting. It was about building something more than just making plays.
But did you think he had the ability to be the head coach of the New England Patriots, to be able to run? And I mean, I know you didn't think that when you're 19, but I'm saying, if someone had said that to you, could you have said, yeah, I could see that happening?
You could, because he comes from a military fan base. He's from the DMV area, what is that, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. His family is in the service. So his upbringing with his brothers and his mom and his stepdad tells you a lot about what he was going to be able to do. So if you'd have told me, I'd have nodded. It's like I could see Mayo doing that. Super just calculated in his movements, which is what coaches have to be. He was that way when he was younger. Funny story is, through college, we all have, we will date or, have like certain conversations about who's going to be your wife and stuff like that. And Mayo's is one person that wanted to talk to him. He was just like, I can talk to him. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, just look. I don't even think she'll make athletes. I'm like, whoa, Jerod. Like, why are you planning that far ahead in life? But that just gives you his mindset into where decision-making for himself was important, even if we're talking about DNA. Yes. Yes, Mike. Mike is wide-eyed right now.
What was he like as a roommate?
He was awesome, competitive is what he was. We'd wrestle. Oh, my gosh. He was just a guy that enjoyed college the right way. And we used to laugh and joke about certain things. Like, my roommates were, I will say, I'll brag just a little bit, very successful. Considering having 5 guys, Sinclair Cannon, a business owner in South Carolina. Robert Ayers, first-round draft pick to the Denver Broncos, now on the Tennessee Vols staff. Inky Johnson. Just say the name and you know who Inky is, right? Jerod Mayo, first-round draft pick, and myself. So And I'll be honest with you, the way we navigated and walked on campus, we were considered somewhat lame or corny for what you're supposed to be doing in college, right? We didn't go out drinking on Thursday nights like other guys did. Or we weren't trying to be the first ones to the party every weekend. We might have just had a chill night. Our job was to be successful and do everything it took to get to that point. So that was our house motto, is everybody, I always say everybody eats, right? And everybody was pulling in the right direction. So that's Mayo's mentality. Was it that meant staying in and playing FIFA or Madden or college football? We were going to do those things because we needed rest for the next day, for workouts and holding each other accountable. I don't care if it was hitting the line on every run. I don't care if it was making weight. I don't care if it's how many gains you made in the summer. Like, everything was pointed towards success, and it was all of us had different leadership qualities. But I could tell you this, from the day Mayo just came on campus, he just moved different, and he showed that in a lot of different ways too.
Sounds like a house full of adults. Like,
does.
Those are grown-ups. Those are grown-up decisions to make when you're
we made mistakes, though. We made some mistakes.
That'll be a different OT.
Yeah, that's a different episode.
Okay, so topic number 2.
Thanks, Mike. Jerod Mayo called his team soft after they lost to the Jags in London. 2-part question here. Number 1, does it surprise you that he would make a statement like that, calling his whole team soft, so publicly? And does it also surprise you that he has created a culture where guys respond to that and went on to beat the Jets the next week?
No and no. I will be honest, the win at the end may have been a little bit surprising, but the accountability side of things, no. He's uber honest, and I do think that's his military upbringing. His mom and dad just never held, back with them. He was the same way with his brothers and siblings also, and he was the same way with us. If we weren't on our stuff, he would call it out, and we all did that too. That's the basis of a good friendship is, hey, I'm going to ride with you, but I'm also be very honest with you. He's still that way to this day. We have a group chat now, the class of 2004, most of our recruiting classes in there. And hearing, the way he speaks in there still, he's very calculated in what he say and does not say. So the accountability aspect of being a professional is what he's going to do. I will say it's kind of bold to call guys you're not far removed from soft. But to get that response is probably what that team needed. And he knows this, I know for sure. If you're going to do that, you better be right in being able to call guys out like that, because I'm a grown man just the same way as you are, and I know Mayo gets that.
As a player, you were a former player in the National Football League. How do you respond to that when your head coach says something like that?
You could take it personal, or you can look yourself in the mirror. One or the other has to happen. But here's what I do think about Jerod and his ability to be the Patriots head coach for some years. I would say this. I think he understands where his roster is. We're having that conversation here, aren't we not? I understand. I know this. He has a really good relationship with Robert Kraft. So he'll have the back, and I think he may get the time also. So to be able to say that as a player, it's about being able to tell truths, right? We always tell guys, just be honest with me. The best thing a coach can do with you is telling you're soft, and you might not like it. And then you can follow up, well, tell me how. Tell me why I can be better. Those are the ones that you want on your team that don't take offense to what this tape is showing us. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Devin McCourty, right, gave a definition of what he said they mean by Patriot soft. I think it was not stopping the run, not being able to run the ball, and then it was another category that he said. And those things weren't showing up on tape. So if that's their standard of what Patriot soft is, he has every right to do it, and those dudes responded accordingly by doing the opposite of what Mayo said they were.
That was my second topic, too, if you'd let me do my 5.
Well, I'm sorry,
but
Mike.
let me just throw out one more part of that, though. How would Jerod Mayo respond to Bill Belichick criticizing him for calling the Patriots soft?
He would probably tell Bill, you run your team the way you run yours, and I run mine like I run mine.
Ooh, spicy.
So I got another funny story. So I was talking to a guy when I went up and played them, and Jerod was still on the roster, correct? And well, you don't know that. Jerod was still on the roster, but he wasn't playing. Number 10 overall pick. They had a little bit of a youth movement. And I asked one of the dudes, and we're joking in between because it's a brotherhood, in between commercial breaks. I was like, where my dog Mayo at? You know what the dude said? Man, he's old as crap. He ain't playing right now. And I was just like, They got transparency there. His standard wasn't what they wanted it to be at the time, I guess, and they had young linebackers that were playing in his position. So Bill Belichick saying that, I'm sure he'd be as honest to Jerod or to that team as Jerod is too. It's just that Bill has his method of communicating in the public to where you get 5 answers to a question, 5 words to an answer, and that's it.
All right. Topic number 3. We are moving right along. 2 first-year head coaches will be facing each other at the halfway point of the season. Brian Callahan, Jerod Mayo. Is that still, in Week 8, a compelling storyline, the first-year coach thing? Or is it kind of irrelevant at this point in the season?
All of this is competition. It's very much relevant. That's the same way we were talking about Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, right? Like rookie quarterback versus rookie. We saw Peyton and Phillip and Tom and Eli and Ben play those matchups, and it meant something. I do think coaches do the same things. I do think front offices make changes and feel a certain type of way about we got to go get this type of win because they won't talk about it in public because they're not interviewed like that. But I do think there is an importance to winning versus the number one who's essentially your class. It's basically the class of 2024 coaches.
Hey, Titans fans, with a Kroger Boost membership, you'll score big with double fuel points, free delivery, and lots more. Go to Kroger.com/boost for details. Kroger, official grocer of the Tennessee Titans. Tighten up.
Home is at the forefront of all that we do. It's why we're so committed to caring for the places and spaces in which we work and live. Ashley, the official furniture provider of the Tennessee Titans.
We continue the OTP pregame with Ramon Foster, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on paying less for the coverage you need with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get a quote today at fbhp.com.
All right. Topic number 4, Ramon Foster. This one's a doozy. How does the Tennessee Titans offensive line stop getting holding penalties? Ooh. Fix it, Ramon.
It's 2 sides of that for me. One, tape, knowing what you're going to get, expectation of how you're going to get rushes or how teams run block you or run stop you. That's important too. And then the other part of it is good feet. That's something I always had to work with, is making sure I was in good positioning in the run game and in the pass game. Specifically on the passing game is setting yourself up for success. Do not let a defensive lineman dictate what you're going to do. You may get caught in a bad spot, but you always take back control as it pertains to you doing your job. But again, we're speaking about an offensive line that is young, growing up, and adjusting to all things they've never seen before. Peter Skoronski, I think, is still at a spot in his career where he's still figuring out guard. And I see that from time to time. And if you were to ask him, I'm sure he'd be honest and say, yeah, I'm still figuring this out, but I always tell people it's about 3 years before you start seeing that payoff. The same thing goes for JC. But I'll tell you this, some holding calls may be warranted because I'd much rather hold you than allow you to tear my quarterback's face off. This is all a part of doing business. What I would tell you in response to that is find a way to negate that. And that's the next play, making sure that your quarterback does have time. But a lot of these things that we're speaking of is time in the league, just being completely honest with you. Because if I lose, then I know how not to lose again, right? And if I saw this guy, I should know next week with the film study that I'm probably going to get a similar move that guy did to beat me. So it sucks going through growing pains. And I went through them myself. I actually thought I was going to get cut my second year in the NFL because I had a guy run through me, which I didn't know how to hold my base at the time, sacked the quarterback and pushed his fist through his helmet, broke his nose. And I just thought, undrafted, second year, I told him I'm probably cut. I'm probably gone. But grace and understanding development is a part of this. And from that moment forward, I made sure I knew everything and to understand what to fight and finish and grind and strain to close out your blocks. It is a maturity thing. So I ain't not mad at, holding penalties. It's a matter of, do you let it carry over and can you stop it?
I asked that question in jest, and I appreciate that you gave such a good answer because what that says to me.
Mr.
No,
Serious
it was awesome.
Really in jest.
I asked it in a very joking way, but what I appreciate about that answer is that it says to me that there are still a lot of coachable moments here. We haven't reached the halfway point of the season, and it's like, well, we don't know what to do with this team. Well, we can't fix these problems. Well, there's nothing that can be done. We don't know what to do. There's a lot of learning left to do on this Titans team. And I appreciate so much saying, hey, that's film study.
It is.
Hey, that's learning how to play your position at a higher level. That's learning how to do this and how to be a pro. And so much of that is a byproduct not of having a bad team, not of having the wrong guys on your offensive line, not of having the wrong guys in whatever position they're supposed to be. It's a byproduct of having a young team that still needs to learn.
And you know what's even cooler behind the broken nose story, too? To your point, having a young team. Like, I must say, I had a veteran team that I was around. And I had a guy that played a few years in the league at the time, too. On that broken nose situation, never mentioned it. The quarterback never mentioned it. It never got brought up. And you know what that did for me? I'm fighting harder for him. You know, I want to sell out even more because if he cannot mention that or I not be cut, you've gained me even more. And that's what this group is getting now. Is it may be bad or it's not as good as you want it to be, but being in those trenches with those dudes that have to be here because they're under contract, right? This is where that growth comes into play to where we may see them in year 6, 7, 8 because I think they're right behind each other and say, we've dealt with this. This is where those comeback plays where you're down 6 and you need 7 to score. This is where that stock is gained right now. But it absolutely, and I can acknowledge, it sucks going through the process of growing pains because there's nothing you can explain other than we're getting better.
Topic 5.
That was a great answer.
It was a great answer.
That was a really good answer. All right. Topic number 5. Is there one thing that could happen, caveat, other than a win? We know that wins are the ultimate goal and the number one thing that can fix a lot of problems.
Sure.
Is there something that could happen on the field other than a win? Maybe it's a play. Maybe it's some sort of a trend that starts to devolve. Maybe it's some sort of a moment. Is there something that could get this team back on track and heading in the right direction?
It's going to sound cheesy, but this is just as simple as it gets because I'm going around to give you the answer. I promise I'm going to give you the answer. We're all still kids. And when we put on those shoulder pads, those pants, Coach Munchak used to call them putting on your silks, the jerseys, right? We're still kids. And we play a game as adults that has a business behind it. What good needs to happen is positivity, just being honest with you. And that's so cheesy. No fan wants to hear that while you're losing. No player really wants to, but it's the truth. Because as much as we talk about how youthful this group is, you ask what good needs to happen. A clean game where you run the ball how you want to, where you can score in the tight red zone when you want to, when the defense gets a turnover, and the offense immediately sets you up, and it sets the offense up for a score. Having clean special teams where you lock everybody down, no big splash plays. Like, it's the process and procedure of the game. And that's what this team hasn't had this year because Miami, they won, but it felt like it was choppy. Like only one person was rowing the boat on one side, and boy, we finally made it to shore, right? Understanding, when you ask me that question, the method of how we piece together a win. And I don't think we've seen them piece together a win the way a football team wants to, right? A dub is a dub is a dub is a dub.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But knowing that I dominated you in the run game, I might have given up a sack today, but my quarterback was 285 yards, 2 touchdowns. The defense held him to 10 points. Special teams made a 50-yarder and kept it clean in every other phase with no penalties. They've yet to have that moment. So it's funny saying positivity and good plays, but that's truly what it's going to be because as this young group knows right now, it's struggle. Best way to get out of that is to put it all together.
See, the point of this, too, which is really interesting, and I know we're now 4 days away from the game in Detroit, but I would have loved to have seen the Titans kick off to Detroit at 14-14. The ball go through the end zone for a touchback instead of being run back 72 yards. And I would have loved to have seen them play that game. 14-14, Detroit at their own 30-yard line, because at that point in the game, you've sacked their quarterback 3 times. He's hurting because you've worked on him quite a bit. You've moved the ball. You've got some confidence. You've driven for 2 touchdowns. Now it's a ball game. Let's play the ball game. Now, pretty good chance you lose because Detroit's better than you are. They're at home. Who knows? But at least you could have seen that. Instead, you saw kickoff return, interception and return, punt return. You never got a chance to actually play the game because even after some mistakes early on, a bad interception and a 70-yard run, you had gotten it back to even. And if this team cannot play themselves out of a game with some sort of massive mistake, it would be interesting to see where they could flow, because there are signs in different areas at times that they can make a bit of a move. This game this week, I think, is the chance for that positivity that you speak of.
It is, and going to the Detroit game, and lessons were being given by Detroit, that's going to benefit them later too, because you know what happened? You brought up a banged-up Jerod Goff. I do think that Dan Campbell kept him in a game that they knew they were going to win at that point to show his team this is how we fight to a finish. Lessons. Right. You know, there'll be a cold game where they might have to go on the road and play against a team, and Jerod Goff just got to suck it up and fight and continue to play for his teammates. But, Mike, you bring up those bad points of the game that happened for the Titans, 14-14 coming out of the halftime. Was it 14-14?
14, yeah.
It was
after the Titans touchdown drive. I mean, that's early in the game.
Yeah, well, yeah, early in the game, not at halftime. But you know what that play did, though, to the guys on the sideline, specifically offense, is that special teams play that was given up essentially reset them to where it's like, well, we've done everything we're supposed to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's no answers. And then what most folks don't understand, at that moment, that young, inexperienced group offensively, or let's say new group put together, because there's some elder guys on there, right, that's been around the league. Mm-hmm. But it puts them up against the wall because now we got to pass and we have to pass. And the hardest thing to do in the NFL is consistently throw the ball around. For a group, specifically the O-line, who didn't give up many sacks after that, I don't think any sacks after that. But how many times can we drop back and hope that we make a splash play and we don't, because all they have to do is send 4 and drop 7? That's a hard life to live.
Tough.
Yeah.
Hey, Titans fans, SeatGeek makes it easy to find tickets so you can be a part of all the touchdown celebrations this season.
Whether you're buying or selling football tickets, SeatGeek is the place to do it. SeatGeek is the official primary ticketing partner of the Tennessee Titans.
The most disruptive idea in ticketing, a ticket that works. Expect the expected.
SeatGeek.
SeatGeek. Made a rookie mistake this football season? Maybe you should have had a Snickers.
Because now you can enter for the chance to turn those rookie mistakes into prizes, including a trip to Super Bowl 59.
Visit Snickers.com/rookie mistakes for details.
Time now for the key ingredients of the game delivered by Little Caesars, which means the pizza boxes come out. Amy Wells has her timer.
Keys to the game, Mike Heath, hit it.
Key number 1 is keep feeding Calvin Ridley. Ridley's 2024 season was jump-started with a 10-catch, 143-yard performance last Sunday. The Titans got him involved early and often, and he made some big plays, including a 47-yarder. Calvin Ridley is the Titans' most dynamic offensive performer. If the offense is to continue to grow, you have to feed him. Key number 2, keep up the heat. The Titans have gotten 3 sacks in the last 2 weeks from Arden Key, and in limited passing downs for the Lions last Sunday, Tennessee recorded 4 sacks as a team. The pass rushers won one-on-ones. The blitzes contributed to the pressure. More of this, please. No matter who the quarterback is for New England, they need to feel this sort of heat from the Titans. Key number 3, keep the ground game going. The Titans' overall results have hardly been what they wanted, either from a record standpoint or from the offensive statistics. But one area has been consistently good, the ground game. It's been consistent no matter the score of the opponent. It was the biggest factor in the team's win at Miami. 120 rushing yards and 4.4 yards per game are both plenty good. The Titans need to clean up several areas while maintaining what has been the best part of their 2024 team, the ground game.
Little Caesars is the official pizza partner of your Tennessee Titans. Download the Little Caesars app and get your favorites delivered today. Delivery fees apply. Mike Keith, did you write that? Because that was wordy.
Wordy?
A minute 16, my friend.
Sorry.
Little over today. Moving on.
I had a lot to say.
You did have a lot to say, which is
all
so
good,
good,
Thank
Mike.
you.
They
It
were
was real
great
good,
keys.
Thank you.
Just a little more loquacious, maybe, than they should have been, given your time constraints. All right, moving right along.
In honor of Jerod Mayo, it's Mayo from Hellman's. It's a Mayo-tivation from Hellman's.
Mayo Titans cheers be loud, and your buffalo chicken dip make you, your mama, and the entire family proud. Hellman's, the official Mayo of the Tennessee Titans. Mayo game day be delicious.
May it be so.
It's good. You say two really good words. I heard everything, but the way you say mayo is good, and the way you say mama.
Thank you.
Like, you may have been the person like, yo, mama, like, you do that really well.
Yeah, I never really found the appropriate way to deliver a yo mama joke. Maybe I should bring it back.
You should.
Or maybe not.
Here in 2024.
The other thing was interesting from our trip to Ford Field. The PA announcer refers to them as Detroit.
Not Detroit?
He says Detroit. I found that very interesting. I had never.
So, do you think he says it that way in a sentence? Like, thank you for coming to Detroit today.
He referred to them as the Detroit Lions. Every time he referred to them, he called them Detroit. I don't know if that was a PA announcer thing, just personal, or if that's how how a local says it.
Detroit.
But it is Detroit City
It
when you
is.
refer to them as Detroit City, which is they're referred to in song and in other ways.
I thought that was just for the song.
Well, I know.
Yeah. I look at it just like, in a sentence, maybe the Detroit Lions. I get that one in an announcements, but it's just Detroit, right?
I thought
I
it
don't
was
know.
more
I would
like a
say it that
D-I
way.
than a D-E-E.
I kind of like Detroit.
You like Detroit?
Detroit.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to say something that might upset some people, but I just like Shelbyville.
Oh,
Shelbyville.
no.
You see where I'm going? Some people will like point a finger at you if you go Shelbyville. It's Shelbyville.
Shelbyville.
See?
Yeah.
Well, it's really Shelbyville.
So it,
Shelbyville.
two.
Like Maryville.
Now, Maryville I could get. It's not Maryville.
No.
Merville.
Maryville. It's
Maryville.
Murrville.
Vol.
Okay, so is it Louisville or Louisville?
Well, it's interesting. It's Louisville, Kentucky. It's Louisville, Tennessee.
See?
And neither one of them are Louisville.
I say Louisville.
Louisville.
Yeah.
I just try not to say those
Detroit,
places.
though.
This discussion brought to you
I'm
by
heading
nobody.
that direction.
All right, so we're on the air Sunday from Nissan Stadium.
In Detroit.
Not in Detroit, in downtown
Nissan.
Nashville. Well, and see,
Music City, not
it was
Motor
a
City.
problem. It was a problem in my house because my father referred to them as Nissan.
Nissan.
I kind
That's
of
how-
like that.
Well,
I
but that's
do
how
too.
he called on them for years. They were a client of his.
Nissan.
Said I'm going over to Nissan in Smyrna,
Uh-huh.
and so when we got the naming rights,
Ooh.
I had to say Nissan because that's what they say.
Okay.
But we will be at not Nissan,
Nope.
Nissan Stadium, so not new Nissan Stadium,
No, the old one.
Nissan Stadium this Sunday. They're on the air with Titans Countdown. I'm
Can't wait.
recorded. I'm off doing something.
Nah, you're around.
11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. Kickoff set for 12:02 Central. The Titans and the Patriots this Sunday at Nissan Stadium. For our good friend Ramon Foster and Amy Wells, who took over the
Yes.
OTP.
Good juju.
I'm Mike Keith. Hopefully we turn it around, and thank you for joining us for the OTP.